Hi, sorry this video is a little overdue. Well, I guess to be fair, probably not as much as last year. Uh, I decided I feel confident now to finally do a top 10 movies of the year, or last year, technically speaking. Yeah, I know there's still a few movies I haven't from last year I haven't seen that I wanted to, but honestly, I think I've seen enough to the point where feel pretty good about a top 10, so yeah, and remember, as always, this is my list, not yours, so don't go complaining if your favorite's not on here or if a movie's higher or lower or whatever. So, yeah, just saying. But yeah, I there's still a lot of movies I still need to see that came out last year that I wanted to see. But honestly, I think my top 10 feels pretty good so far, and I think as I said, I feel pretty good about it. I'm probably repeating myself. I'm sorry. So, I guess let's just get to the list. Number 10 is Top Gun Maverick. Really, really liked this movie. I'm not somebody who was familiar with Top Gun at first. I didn't even see the first movie until last summer, like when the movie was out. And I think this is a rare sequel that improves upon the first one because this movie definitely, the first one did have a good story, but this one was a lot more action driven, but it still had a really good story that felt like it kept the plot going from the first going. It didn't feel like something a movie that was just there to cash in on nostalgia. No, a lot of it was really good, and the technology has greatly improved. Like, not that the first one didn't have, great, but, it's a little outdated, kind of has a little bit of a campy tone to it. But this here, like, this was a great theater experience. Maybe that's why. Maybe it was just the experience that made me like it more. It was just so great, like the sounds of the jet engines and just seeing all these fighter pilots flying everywhere, and like visually it looked great. Like, I mean, obviously it didn't feel like you were in the movie, but like it looked great on such a huge screen. And I'm really glad that this movie definitely that was a worthy sequel, not just something, as I said, not just something to cash in on 80s nostalgia. It was actually really good, and I'm glad I got to see this on the big screen, and I'm really glad that, I could be part of the hype because this was a really good movie. I highly enjoyed it. My number 9 is an animated movie. If you don't count my number 1 pick, I'll get to that later. I'd say this is my favorite animated movie of the year, Wendell and Wild. Yeah, I had a very fun time with this movie. It's what I like about Henry Selick because he directed two of my favorite animated movies ever, Nightmare Before Christmas and Coraline. And while it's not as great as those, it still has a lot of what made those movies work and what I love about them. They're very dark, but still visually interesting and have really creative stories. Yeah, the animation is absolutely fantastic. Like, I dare even say the animation's probably even amped up from Coraline because it looks very fluid. It looks amazing, and just the character designs are so unique, and just the way the environment looks with all the stop motion, like it's incredible. And Key and Peele, of course, are the characters Wendell and Wild, and they're very funny together. Like their chemistry is always great. Like even in animated movies, their chemistries together is always great. I always love Key and Peele. They're a very good duo, and I'm glad even after the show ended, they're still doing some stuff. And there's lots of creative imagery and really crazy events, but it still does have some heart to it. I won't give anything away because I think this is a pretty underrated movie from last year that I think more people should check out. If you have Netflix, it's worth a watch. I think it's a very cool film, and I really, really enjoyed it. Number 8 is Bullet Train. I had a very fun time with this movie. It was good. David Leitch is slowly becoming one of my favorite action movie directors, or I'd say he even is one of my favorite action movie directors, maybe not even becoming. Because I really like his style. Like his action scenes are so fast paced and extremely over the top. Especially like if you've seen his other movies, like especially Atomic Blonde. Atomic Blonde was kind of what got me into his style of filmmaking because he was a stuntman at first, and that's I guess that would explain why the fight choreography in his movies are always so good. But this movie was a lot of fun. Brad Pitt, he's always great in a lot of action movies, and he's always a very likable lead. The movie's really funny. I was laughing a lot in the theater when I saw this. It was just a really wild ride, very over the top, and pretty much what you want out of an action comedy. Like lots of big laughs, but still lots of fun action to get you excited. And all the performances were great. Like it had a pretty good all-star cast, like Brad Pitt, Brian Tyree Henry, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Joey King, Zazie Beetz, briefly, but she was still in it. It had a really good cast, and it was very fun. Like it didn't feel rushed. It was very fast paced, and it's definitely what I like in a good action movie. So that alone makes it one of my favorites of the year. I really enjoyed Bullet Train. It was good. So yeah, it was definitely worth checking out. My number seven is Nope. I really liked this movie. Like, funny enough, I just mentioned Jordan Peele. Yeah, Nope was very good. I thought it was very interesting. It was very unique. Well, maybe not unique because it's another kind of alien invasion story. It's kind of like it's not really a horror movie focused on like a high kill count or gore or anything. It's more focused on the fear factor, which I've heard that's what Get Out mostly is. And I still have to see Get Out. I still never seen it, but I hear it's incredible. Cause, but I don't. But this movie, like, I never even saw Us either. This is the only Jordan. Nope is the only Jordan Peele horror movie I've seen, but I think it was a good one to start with. I thought it was very fun. It was really suspenseful, and that's definitely what I love. And I always love fiction about aliens. It's always makes for some interesting stories, and it was cool to see a horror movie built on suspense because you don't need a high kill count to be scary. I mean, yeah, this movie does have a few death scenes, but not as much as some like slasher movies or whatever. So yeah, Nope, I had an extremely fun time with. I thought it was a really cool experience, and I definitely will want to check out more of Jordan Peele's horror work in the future. So I'll probably have to review Get Out and Us soon whenever I watch them. So yeah, Nope was a very fun movie, and to that I say yep. That was bad. I know. My number six is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Again, again, just like Top Gun Maverick, this is a sequel that I think improves upon the first one in many ways. Like, I did like the first Sonic, but I kind of feel like it was kind of just a movie that, like, it looked like it was just the kind of movie I thought was just going to be good enough, as good as a Sonic live action Sonic movie could get. No, this was even better. This actually felt more like a Sonic movie. It was actually very colorful, and it was very visually interesting. It had a great variety of characters. It was very fun, and I had such a blast when I saw this in theaters during the spring. It was such a wild ride, and it was great to see all these new characters. Tails was portrayed excellently. I really liked how they portrayed, like, and they got the original voice actress for Tails to come back, so that was cool. Knuckles, he was cool to see, and always good to have Idris Elba in something. And he made a fun villain, well, kind of a villain turned hero. He kind of had a redemption arc, but well, not kind of. He did have a redemption arc, and it was cool to see all these characters, and even the climax was straight out of the video game. Like, this is probably one of the most video gamey live action movies I've ever seen. Like, kind of up there with the Mortal Kombat movie that came out 2 years ago. Like, it was like next level, and it really went out on the craziness and that I felt was missing from the first Sonic movie. So this was a very fun sequel. I really loved Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I thought it was super fun, and I can't wait for the third one to come out next year. So yeah, I really, really liked Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Number five is Avatar The Way of Water. Yep, this was definitely worth the wait. I do think the first is a little better because I like how it didn't really have, well, it had a lot to work with because, with establishing the world and the story and whatever, because it was such a unique concept. Well, okay, maybe going to another world isn't really new, but like such a big world that Avatar had was so great to see. But this movie, like, it still was amazing seeing the world of Pandora expand, and you see a bunch of amazing water effects and a bunch of how the Navi worked together and all the you know relations they have with the tribes and all the feuds and the clashing and their history. Like, it's very interesting and it made for a very fun experience. The action was absolutely amazing. It looked amazing on the big screen, and I'm really glad I that I got to experience this because I didn't see the first one in theaters, but I did see it a couple months later on a plane. But this movie, I'm so glad I got to see on the big screen, and I really can't wait for the other sequels. And I'm so glad this movie's doing well. I mean, it was gonna do well, of course, because it's a sequel to one of the biggest movies ever made. But it's a great movie. If you haven't seen it yet, what are you waiting for? Go head to a theater right now and see it right now. But Avatar: The Way of Water was great. It was so, like, as I said, not unique, but it was a visual spectacle and it was a very fun story, and it's just a really fun movie. Like, it was definitely worth the wait. It's like The Incredibles 2. Took a long time to come out, but it was well worth the wait, and I really am excited for its future. Number 4 is Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah, this movie is getting talked about a lot. Lots of people are talking about this movie, and yes, I did read about the Golden Globes, and Michelle Yeoh won Best Actress, and yeah, she deserves it. She's in a lot of movies lately, and to be fair, I can't remember because she's a good actress, and I think she did. She had a great performance in this movie. Like, it's very powerful, and it has really good messages about family and looking out for each other, and just feeling how people work. And while Evelyn is going through all these universes, she learns a bit about life and how she can appreciate hers more. And it's but even though it's has a lot of great message for intellects because this is an artsy film, it still manages to be really entertaining for the casual moviegoers. It's kind of this weird hybrid that magically works because this movie is incredibly creative and it's absolutely insane. All the world she goes to, like this world where everyone has hot dogs for fingers, or the world where she's a cook and finds a ratatouille parody with a raccoon, or one where they're rocks with googly eyes. Like, it's so insane, but like it has really great messages and morals and lots of themes, but it still manages to be entertaining at the same time. I think this is a movie lots of movies should take influence from. Well, yeah, I don't mean like every movie obviously trying to act like it, but with I meant in terms of the themes, not in terms of the writing, like the script or story or whatever. I meant in subtle ways, because this definitely was a one of a kind movie, and I'm really glad it got recognition a lot, because it was very entertaining. It was really cool, and it was definitely one of the most, well, of course, jumping through universes isn't an original concept. They still managed to take a lot with it. It's kind of like a Pixar movie in a way, where it takes a concept that isn't new, but they put a lot of creative, unique spins on it, and that's what I really like about it. It was a very enjoyable film, and I would definitely want to rewatch it again in the future. So Everything Everywhere All at Once definitely deserved the praise. It was a very good, wild movie, and I really had a fun time with this one. My number 3 is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Battery warning, sorry. Yeah, this movie probably has some of the fewest moments I've laughed so hard in a movie theater. Like, I was laughing so hard when I saw this movie earlier last year. It was so good. Like, even if you haven't seen a lot of Nicolas Cage's movies, this movie somehow still manages to be super entertaining. It's pretty much, as the trailer said, the most Nicolas Cage movie ever. And yeah, yeah, it is. It's very quirky and weird, but somehow super funny and over the top. It's just really funny. Like, it has a really insane plot, but it's so great. And Pedro Pascal, he's very funny in the movie too. And him and Nicolas Cage have like really funny chemistry with each other. Like, they share a lot of good laughs. It's a good buddy comedy. Like, I guess that's one way to put it. It's a buddy comedy, and it's really funny. Even and especially given that a lot of the jokes revolve around Nicolas Cage's career and movies and such. And I'm always a sucker for movies that are about filmmaking in some way. So this was definitely a movie for me, and I really, really liked it. It was a very fun time, and I I really should watch it again sometime because I don't think I saw it since I saw it in theaters. But no, I haven't. But I definitely want to rewatch it. It was such a funny movie, and I had a super fun time with it. My number two is The Batman. Thank you. I'm so glad this movie didn't suck. It was so worth the wait and all the delays and such. This movie was so good. It was everything that I wanted this movie to be. Cause when I heard a new Batman movie was coming out and Robert Pattinson was going to be the lead, I had my doubts, but I still wanted to give him a chance. And Matt Reeves was directing it, so thank God he wouldn't be another Christopher Nolan and making everything realistic. He actually, because, he directed movies about wars between humans and monkeys and a giant kaiju monster destroying New York, so realism isn't going to be a thing for him. And yeah, a lot of it does focus on the down to earth elements of Batman. It has three of his probably most realistic villains: Riddler, the Penguin, and Carmen Falcone. Because obviously one's a mobster, one's a serial killer, and one's just a gangster. And nope, Catwoman doesn't count. Catwoman is not a villain. She's an anti-hero. She's not a villain. But Catwoman, I thought she was portrayed very well. That's what I liked about her. They didn't Matt Reeves knew that she wasn't a one-sided villain. She has a different morality than Batman, but they still want to team up, and Batman has a complicated relationship with her. And the Riddler was incredible. Yeah, he doesn't look like the Riddler, but I actually did kind of like this version. I liked how he had a mask that hid his face because he's the Riddler, so he makes it more mysterious. He kind of looked yeah, it kind of looked more like Hush, but even the whole thing of him live streaming his kills, it was a very unique version of the Riddler, and it was finally good to see a noir-driven Batman movie. Thank you. He's not called the world's greatest detective for nothing, because he doesn't do a whole lot of detective work in the other live-action movies. So it was great to finally see a mystery movie, and it was actually very interesting. All the clues Batman goes with, and finding out where to go and solving all these mysteries. It's a very interesting story. It proves that you don't have to make a detective story boring. It revolve around Batman. It doesn't have to be a save the day typical superhero movie. It could be, different, because a detective story doesn't mean it's going to be boring, but even the action's really good. Robert Pattinson is very good. He can move really well in that bat suit. I'm really impressed, even though it looks heavy with all that armor, and it's really good. It's a very fun film, and even the cinematography was amazing. It looked like a Batman graphic novel storyline, something I don't know, The Long Halloween or Year One, which I know those were influences, but even something maybe Dark Knight Returns, visually most of the shots and the action scenes in this movie look like a comic book panel, and that's what I love about it. That's what was missing from the Nolan movies. This one had no realism, and it actually felt comic booky, and I really am excited for the future of Matt Reeves' Batman universe, because thankfully it's not in the DCEU, so James Gunn probably won't get his hands on it. So thank you. So, and I hear they're planning to bring Clayface in this universe. Thank you, Matt Reeves. Clayface in live action. Oh, I could just hug you. But yeah, the Batman was great. Definitely my favorite superhero movie of last year. It was very good. It didn't top the Burton movies, but if the Burton movies didn't exist, this would easily be my favorite live action movie, Batman movie, solo wise. But like, it was very good, and I definitely think it was worth the wait. And my number one pick is unless you saw my review of it, this choice is probably going to shock all of you. Yep, it wasn't the Batman. It wasn't a big blockbuster. It wasn't a superhero movie. It wasn't even a movie that had a wide release. This was a movie that I expected to like, but it became one of my favorite movies ever. It was shockingly incredible. Marcel the Shell with shoes on. Yes, I know from the poster and the trailers, on the surface, yeah, it does look like a movie that's for really little kids. But this is a movie where when you watch it, you can really dig deep into it. This movie is very simplistic. It has a super simple plot. Just a little shell getting interviewed and trying to find his family. That's it. But the limited plot and the very simple story, I think, is really the magic of this movie, because I think that's really allows it to get really creative, like the limits and restrictions it had, because it allowed for lots of really creative ideas that can be expressed throughout the movie, and it's very amazing, and they can actually show, a bunch of creative concepts around what Marcel can do, because if the movie had an actual bigger plot, all the little things that you see would probably just feel pointless and just a way to show off the movie's stop motion technology. But no, Marcel throughout the movie gets interviewed throughout the house, and it's very cute, and he goes through a lot of household, like he sleeps on a piece of bread. He calls it his bread room. Yes, really. And he uses a lot of things, like you he lives in this little tree house that's in this little pottery plant, and he uses the zip line that is activated by a mixing bowl, and he lives in this little kind of mouse hole with his grandma, and they sit on a matchbox, and it's amazing. Like, they use so much creative concepts around the house. Just, they really made it really unique, and the whole thing is filmed like a documentary, and that's really what makes it funny, because the interactions that Marcel has with the narrator, who is named Dean because Dean's the name of the director, like, it's very funny. Like, there's actually a lot of, kind of cute but still silly and funny humor in this movie. Like, I actually did chuckle a lot, because lots of moments were just super cute, and it's has a really good message about family. And Marcel, this might sound like a weird thing to say. This is probably the weirdest thing I'll ever say on my channel. Marcel is an amazing character. He is not what you would expect. Like, if you look at, say, like the DVD cover, the poster or something, or even just like a snippet of the trailer, you're probably think, oh, Marcel's just, this little sad shell who wants to find his family and to make the audience go, "Aw." But no, what makes Marcel great is that he's not a one note character. Like, he's not always happy, he's not always melancholy. He doesn't even like say like a lot of the same stuff. Like, he's very shy throughout a lot of the movie. Like, lots of moments he's very soft spoken, but when he's interviewed for a lot of stuff, sometimes he would explain things further, like whether it's about his family or something in his home, like, and that's something I think realistically a lot of us can relate to, because not all of us are just a one trick pony. We have moments where we want to express ourselves. There's moments we don't really, and he's not real. Even though he is pretty sad about his family, he still is happy when he's dealing with a bunch of other stuff. Because other scenes don't really have to do with the plot, but he's still sometimes really happy. But sometimes he can be worried or scared. So he's surprisingly a very three-dimensional character, and apparently this was based on a series of internet shorts, which I've never seen, but I honestly want to check them out now because I never thought a movie based on internet videos could be this good. And I really can't believe this is my favorite movie of last year. Of all the movies I mentioned before, this one is my favorite. It's insane. This movie exceeded my expectations. It was had a very good message. It was very creative, and the ending was a tearjerker, let's just say, and it's very powerful, and it has a lot of good messages about family and determination, and like as I said, like lots of the themes are very timeless, and like it's not just some like cutesy little film to put on for your 5-year old while you cook dinner. No, this is actually a very enjoyable film, not just for kids, but I think lots of adults can even relate to it too. Like lots of the themes in it are very relatable, and lots of them are very understandable. Like it's simple enough for younger kids, but it's still very intriguing for adults. Like it's just such an unbelievably amazing movie. I mean, this is why stop motion movies I feel should be, you know, in more movies. Like as I said with Wendell and Wild, like that movie was great, but it was not this movie. This movie was very unique. It wasn't like any movie I've ever seen before, and it's instantly become one of my favorites. It was absolutely. I'm so glad I got to see this on the big screen. When a movie becomes one of your favorite movies, you'll be glad you got the experience. And this movie didn't play in that many theaters, which that really sucks. But if you haven't seen Marcel the Shell Shoes On, go watch it. Go watch it. Like seriously, just click off this video and watch it. Like rent it, or I don't think it's on streaming, but like rent it, or maybe even buy it on DVD. Like just go, click off this video, watch the movie. You'll thank me. But and yeah, I did hear the Golden Globes one happened recently, and this movie was nominated for Best Animated, but Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio won. And I'm not sad about, and I'm not honestly that sad about it, because Pinocchio was amazing too. I really should have mentioned some honorable mentions. I apologize, but this movie was incredible. It's a movie I definitely want to rewatch again. I would gladly own the DVD or Blu-ray. Like hopefully I can find it sometime. It's This movie is unbelievably amazing. I couldn't believe how much I loved this movie. It's like even from the trailer, I thought it was just gonna be, a good cutesy film, but no, it was incredible. One of the best movies I've seen in years. One of the best movies I've ever seen. Period. I really don't know what more I can say without giving away anything, because you gotta watch it for yourself. This movie is incredible, and I really hope that it gets more recognition in the future, because it's unlike anything I've ever seen before, and it's absolutely incredible. So yeah, those are my top 10 favorite movies of 2022. So let me know, do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know what your top 10 is below. So yeah, so glad I finally got to make this video. So I'll catch you later, and hope you all have a happy new year.